Euphoria, take notes. That is how you kick off a season 3. Hi, if you're new here, my name is Sable and I talk about comics and all things nerdy. So you may not know this, but I have been a Game of Thrones fan for a while and I've wanted to talk about House of the Dragon on my channel, just never had the opportunity to do this. But with the beginning of season 3, I thought now would be the perfect time to introduce the show to my channel. And what better way to kick it off than with this episode, House of the Dragon, Come Get Your Baddies Chain. Season 2 for House of the Dragon was very meh. It was very mid. I think we can all admit that now. Season 1 was fantastic. Season 2 was a snooze fest, but season 3 is shaping up to be what House of the Dragon is supposed to be. This episode, we had high stakes, we had gore, we had blood, we had fire, and of course, we had dragons. And I'm so excited to see what they do with this season because already I think it's a step up from last season. And if it's not obvious by now, spoilers ahead. I'm not going to go through a whole rundown of the episode, but just talk about some of the things that I think made this episode work well and what I think the show needs to continue doing moving forward. Number one, kicking off the show with a major character death. We're going back to our recipe book. We're going back to the template of what works and what makes the show interesting. I'm not a fan of deaths just for the sake of it, but I am a fan of shows in which no character is safe because it's going to keep you guessing. Now, for those who have read the books, probably already know how all of this turns out. But for us who just watched the TV show, every character that dies is a major shock. In this episode, we had Jace die. And I really did not think Rhaenyra would lose her other son so quickly. Like, this has a major impact on the story as a whole. First of all, because Rhaenyra's deal with Alicent was a son for a son. Now, Alicent has both of her sons and Rhaenyra has none. Not only does she not have her sons, now she doesn't have an heir to her throne. So that doubly weakens her position as queen because who's going to want Rhaenyra as a queen and she has no heir already to pass the throne off to? Like, this just makes the situation even messier for her. And when Sheepstealer came into the battle, we thought, okay, they're about to take out this fleet, everything's going to be okay. But no, he's the one that causes Jace's death. And this just kind of reinforces the idea of how dangerous dragons are. Sheepstealer went into business for himself, and now everyone is feeling the effects of that. And poor Bela, like, this just makes me so sad for her. I even felt bad a little bit for Aegon. Aegon now with his half burnt face. I'm actually really invested in his journey because he's running from his brother, but he's also running from the queen. He doesn't really have any true allies right now besides his mother Alicent. So I actually want to see where his story goes because it's giving very familiar to Arya and the Hound, how they had to navigate through Westeros together to get to the north when everyone was trying to kill them. This is kind of giving me that, and I really liked that storyline. And I actually kind of like Aegon as a character. Sue me, but I think he's just so entertaining. His storyline now for season 3, he really has nowhere to go, and I'm actually excited to see how he survives this because he really should have been dead after he got burned up like that. But he survived. He's a fighter, and I want to see where his story ends. I just mentioned Alicent, and Alicent is another one who is in an impossible position. She was trying to betray her son. She was trying to give her son over to Rhaenyra, but Aemon kind of deflated that plan, and you could see her trying so hard to try and keep her end of the bargain and get Aemon out of there so Rhaenyra can sneak in and take the castle. But Aemon was just making it so difficult. She had to sit there and let her son kiss her just for him to agree to leave. Now, I know the Targaryens be into that incest stuff, but when I saw him leaning in to kiss his mother, I was like, I think we might have hit a new low. Game of Thrones, I think we might have hit a new low. Y'all ain't never did nothing that weird before. And y'all done some weird stuff, but that I think is so far number one now on the list of weird incestual things that Game of Thrones has allowed. Finally, my girl Rhaenyra, it's becoming harder and harder and harder to see any way forward for her. I just don't see how she can possibly win this war, especially when everyone around her is constantly undermining her. And I kind of like the fact that they do that because it's just going to show how much Westeros in its current climate is not ready for a queen. Everyone keeps saying they're going to fight for their queen, they're going to die for their queen, they're going to kill for their queen. But yet, every time she gives a command, everyone undermines her commands. And she even says it in the episode, I may have the body of a queen, but I have the heart and the spirit of a king. And she does. But nobody is allowing her to actually rule. And it makes me feel like even if she were to win the throne, when would she get the respect that she deserves? Westeros is just not ready. And her own camp is proving that fact. Now, I will say, Rhaenyra was kind of making some questionable decisions, the way that she was willing to trust Alicent. We know Alicent is legit on her side as the viewer, but Rhaenyra doesn't really know that. But she's trusting Alicent, which really could have been her downfall. And now, when she heard news about the battle going on, she was ready to hop on her dragon and fly out of there. Do I think Rhaenyra could have survived that battle? Perhaps, but the way Jace went down, those ships were ready for a dragon, and she was going by herself, putting herself as the queen in danger. And Jace, rightfully so, was like, hey, mom, you actually shouldn't be fighting these battles. You're the queen. Now, Rhaenyra is not the type to sit back and let everyone shed blood for her, which is what makes her so respectable. However, as a queen, as a leader, your job is to kind of stay alive, especially when your claim to the throne is so fragile. But Rhaenyra is still battling with the identity of being a fighter versus being a ruler. And no matter which way she goes, she still ends up suffering great losses, which I think is great for storytelling because if there's one thing I dislike about shows is when the main characters never have to feel any pain or never have to face any legit consequences. If there's one person who has suffered in this show more than anyone, it is for a fact Rhaenyra. And it just makes me more endeared to her. It makes me want to see her actually win. But looking at the previews at the end of the episode, it looks like it's going to be a major season, and I really hope they don't prove me wrong with that. It looks like we have a new main villain, which I'm actually interested to see, especially because I want to see more of the houses that we've become so familiar with. The only thing I'm not looking forward to is that it looks like Rhaenyra is still indoors, and that was kind of the complaint for season 2, that Rhaenyra wasn't really being a main character. It seemed like things were happening around her and she was just stuck on that island in the castle all day, giving out orders that nobody was listening to. Unfortunately, the previews don't really show Rhaenyra doing a lot again, but hopefully I'm wrong and hopefully they're saving some surprises for us and that she gets out there and actually starts shutting things down like the queen she's supposed to be. Like I said, I really enjoyed this first episode, and I hope that House of the Dragon keeps the momentum going. But let me know what you think.